So I like to go back to older videos. Before I started YouTube, I understand that signals, like there's third base coach signals, there's first base coach, the there's the fake me out signals, but the more you watch, the more you'll pick up on who's playing who in the Bible. So, in one of the most overlooked prophecies in the Bible is Deuteronomy 32, otherwise known as the Song of Moses, like that of Exodus 15. They both deal with the Antichrist, but a new striking revelation opens the door as to where the Antichrist will come from.
Jordan there, Prince Hussein, and now they're talking about building the third temple. When he seeth that their power is gone, and there is none shut up or left, he shall say, where are their gods, their rock in whom they trusted, which did eat the fat of their sacrifices? You don't think Rome won't have a part in building the third temple? Do you know right now there was a brother sent me a thing on Facebook showing me a video there from one of the Arab guys there in Jordan saying that they should build the third temple, but it should be given, the sovereignty should be given over to the Palestinian Authority on the temple site. Isn't that funny? The Pope of Rome had just gone over there to visit the Prince of Jordan there, Prince Hussein, and now they're talking about building the third temple. He is such a crafty, sly devil is what he is. And now Moses is clearly showing you who such a crafty, sly devil is what he is. And now Moses is clearly showing you who the rock is, who the Antichrist is. It's the one that has a rock, but it's not Israel's rock. See, Israel's rock really is Christ. But the Vatican is not accepting Christ to be that rock. They put the Pope as their rock. Now, he's going to clear it all
Pause
out.
it for just 1 sec.
He says
I'm
right
gonna
here, and
jump
they shall
to the
say,
full-
where are their gods, their rock in whom they trusted, which did eat the fat of their
I'm gonna-
sacrifices and drank the wine of
I'm
their
gonna
drink
pause-
offerings? Yes, the Pope of Rome. Right there on King David's tomb, in the place they call the upper room, the Last Supper, he drank the wine already. Offering his spiritual sacrifices. To the dead, that is.
King David's tomb,
The wine of their drink
I mean,
offerings,
maybe.
let them rise up
third temple.
and help you and be your protection. See, Israel is trusted in Rome. Look what Netanyahu's done. He's gone to the Pope. Look what
Benjamin Franklin Parkway. You see, their Israel down here. They're believing the Philadelphia landscape to me is all like a farce, and the Israel, they're believing in the rock because it's like rocky, and everything that consist of this host body system is what they're believing in. And that's why when they believe in that rock, that's that deception that comes along because of it.
Shimon Peres is done. Gone to the Pope, said the only man that can bring peace to the Middle East is Pope of Rome. Oh, really? So God has prophesied to you. Do you understand this, my brothers?
As the light goes on, March 12th, 2015. Usually, from what I've learned, when I hear people in the Bible, as they talk about somebody, they're talking about them in the third person. So Moses prophesied of the Antichrist
In Israel. Do you understand this? Aside to you. Do you understand this, my brothers in Israel? Do you understand this? Moses has prophesied of our people, and including the rabbis that are guilty of holding hands with the Vatican, a rock that is not our rock.
Pause it for just one sec. I'm going to jump to the folder because I want you to see that.
So God says to you,
right now, I want you to see.
let them rise up. Who did eat the fat of sacrifices and drank the wine of their drink offerings, let
eat the fat of their sacrifices, drink the wine of their drink offerings. Eat the fat of their sacrifices, drink the wine of their drink offerings.
Let him rise up and help you. Let him be your protection.
So I go to the people that have been up on YouTube the longest and then look at the script, how Moses and Elijah come first and then Christ. And each one plays the role, and then when the next person shows up, they go back to their, like when Christ shows up, they go to their actual seat as to who they are. Because everybody's playing the other person in order for you not to get it. It's like that, the 3 cups. There's 3 cups, and the ball is underneath, but which one is the actual, where is that Antichrist ball in with those 3 cups? Who's playing out that role? And no matter who it is, they're not my enemy in my head. And I don't think I'm their enemy anymore. I may have been in the beginning, but not anymore. But I could be deceived. Either way, I'm just going to keep trying to figure out, like, who was playing Moses, who was playing Elijah, and then who plays Christ. Because the first, Moses comes first, then Elijah, and then Christ comes. And it's like, the one that's playing Christ, well, when Christ shows up, then he would have to go back to being Elijah, his original place. And then whoever was playing Elijah goes back to being Moses, because that's his original place. But until the truth shows up, I feel like everybody has skipped a step, jumped a seat, musical chairs. They're in that person's seat. So if they don't show up, they stay in that seat. If they do show up, they go back into their original seat as to who they're actually being in the Bible.
Bear with me here. I'm still sick, but I'm healed. I'm excited about this revelation because you're going to find out the identity of the Antichrist. Moses himself has written it.
So how do I interpret it? As Moses himself. Who's the Antichrist? Moses himself. Moses himself is the Antichrist. But then who's Moses? So who's playing Moses? I feel like the rock, or the fake rock that he was talking about, that you guys worship, Israel, is the one playing Moses. But he's really Judas. Like really because what you're doing is you're looking at interpretation as the host body, literally. I'm looking at it spiritually, and it's literally being played out here with Lucifer, and then like down here when I was hanging out where Jacob's ladder is, ascending and descending on those two videos with 69 holes here between the 6th and ninth hour. Me standing here, and then on my I'm looking at the building on July 8th and October 21st, 2020. And over to my side here, the wooders sprouted up out of nowhere over here on my side, because I was standing right here, directly like right there, and then over here on my side, the wooder came out of nowhere. And so I felt like that was being used as something for the other side, as their benefit, to try to use me to fulfill scripture with their interpretation of the host body system. So that would be more like the Judas role, where in the end, the rock that people are worshiping is the false Christ, and the rocky system, because this is where Rocky Balboa, boa constrictor is. So if you notice, Balboa, boa constrictor, and this is a serpent. And Moses was, as a kid, he put on a headdress or something like that, trying to be the Pharaoh, because then that would put you either, you're either the Pharaoh or you're second in charge. And then if you're really Judas but you're trying to be Jesus, or even if you're trying to put yourself in there as Moses or Elijah, then you would be like, let's just say you're Judas himself, and then you're trying to become Moses or Elijah, or however that goes, or even Christ. Well, then you're still in the family of, like, even though Moses is considered Antichrist, apparently, but the family of the righteous, because in the end, they all did their job accordingly after the book ends. And the Antichrist will come. He will come from...
By the hand of Almighty God, you have no other choice around it. I know a lot of people want to say the Pope is a false prophet. Yeah, he's a false prophet too. He's the same man. All right, but we'll go into that later. All right, but
he's the same man. Moses, we're going to tell you about the Antichrist. And Moses himself wrote of these things. Some people say Pope Francis is the false prophet. Yeah, he's the same man. How many people... I'm going to have to do a game show. How many, like, who's behind the mask? Who is behind them? And anybody I ask who's behind the mask is the same person, where they have like, what is that? 4 wings of, I don't know, 4 faces or something. Somewhere in scripture says it. Like, as if one person is 4 people. So one person could be Hillary Clinton, the Pope, Hillary Clinton, Trump, and I don't know, like Vladimir Putin or something. One person would be all 4, and there's 2 others that have, like, one of them's Elon Musk, the other one is whoever else goes on, and then Obama. Somebody is him. Somebody is under the mask of Joe Biden, and so on and so forth. Because on this day, again, July 8th, where there's no water ever, the entire year. This is the beginning of the pandemic. Everything's shutting down. When I was going to work, I would go down there. It was like a ghost town. Like, people were just home. They stayed home. And I worked all the way through without complying. And so that's solid concrete, stone, rocks, same thing. Over there at Chops. It's 8:45 a.m. So I'm over here in this area where this coffin is. That coffin. I'm right here. July 8th, 2020. 30 seconds in, and then 1 minute later, which is exactly 8:46.
Rock that begot you. Now that's interesting. If you want a being born again message, that is your being born again message. The rock that begets you. Because the rock in the wilderness that was smitten by Moses and the rock was split in half. It was judged by the elders of Israel.
Pretty real.
That rock was foreshadowing the coming of Christ. The water from that rock foreshadows the very life that was of the tree of life in the Garden of Eden. That way was sealed away from the children of Israel, or from all.
Because who was I there to see? Was I there to see God, or was I there to see Moses? So was Moses striking the rock and then water came out? Or am I there to speak to God and I'm striking the rock and water comes out? According to the script that's being played out. And then you'll have, because that's the literal manifestation of the script, which is the literal way, which isn't the actual correct interpretation. So whoever would be playing Moses at the time is playing Moses, not actually Moses, just playing like the Judas role. And then Moses, according to the right, the Bible being played out, there's a Moses, not that he's Moses, but he's playing Moses. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm not trying to say that I think somebody is actually Moses, or I think somebody's actually Elijah or Jesus. I'm telling you, here's who I think is playing that role from the Bible that was written 2,000 years ago, or played out back then, if that even happened back then. Because how are we supposed to know what's going on in this planet when we don't even know that we're in an anthill hellhole? And there's no way that a regular person could secretly write scripts and have them produced throughout the world without the elite knowing, as they surveil every single possible thing that you've ever done through your own eyeballs. So to think that it happened like that, it's hard for me to believe. So I believe that the Bible is written by the elite, and they have their actors, and they are playing it out to the T perfectly. But there becomes a true representative of, okay, well, we were playing, all right, so you're Moses, right? Yeah. And then you're Elijah? Okay. And you're going to play Jesus, right? All right. Well, what if Jesus really does show up? Well, then you go, Jesus, you go back to being Elijah. Elijah, go back to being Moses. And Moses, you're Judas, go back to your place. That's how I see it. When the truth actually shows up, then everybody goes back into their actual place in order to fulfill Scripture. And that's being played out.
all the humanity that was guarded. The way of the tree of life was guarded.
Because Steve Bannon could have been playing, as I said it, he could have been, well, if I start like this.
It's just beyond insane, the whole idea.
I agree with you, Click. But I'm just trying to figure things out. And so as Click plays Moses back then, before I even showed up, and then Steve Bannon playing Elijah, and then when Derek Brose shows up, the Jesus representing Christ, how Christ came onto the scene and started to change the way things are ran when you do that literally, but there's also the spiritual end of it. So this is all being played out literally. I'm seeing the spiritual end of it take place. So then therefore, when one person's playing Jesus and then it's being played out literally, and then the spiritual part of what Jesus means comes into play, then the person playing Jesus would step back into the Elijah role, mocking the 450 false prophets. But you would probably have to hire the 450 false prophets in order to mock them, but they don't know that, and that's why in the end the serpent strikes, because God has the serpent strike the people and they're all deceived. And then it would go back to being Steve Bannon being the Moses, because there's two witnesses and they have to really have a lot of authority on this planet, like the Pope, who runs the political realm and the spiritual realm of the world. So he has a lot of, basically, a form of the Pharaoh, but also a form of, like, Moses, a form of Joseph, like a form of somebody being second in charge. But again, there's going to be somebody playing that role who the second in charge person is really the person in charge of the planet. And then they swap roles, is how I'm seeing it. So that's how it is with me in my mind, where I feel like the people playing these lead characters are playing them out because they know the Bible inside and out. And I'll either hit or miss, hot or cold. Doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. To me, I used to care about what people think because of the trolls and the agents. They transferred their demons into my mind. But that's gone now. It's long gone. I just want to try to have things stick. And it's not that I'm picking a side of either or. I'm just trying to pick who I feel like is in this script world. And, it'd be great if I get it right. Because then it's like these pieces of the puzzles that every time I listen to somebody or hear the Bible or read the Bible, I'm constantly trying to put the pieces together, and sometimes it just gets really draining because I feel like I have it nailed down, and then I'll hear something else. It's like, oh no, so that's why I had to shut off a few people, because I know that their intentions are to misguide you. They really don't want you to actually know, because everybody's playing the same role. It's like, everybody's pointing to themselves as Paul. And I'll see people pointing to Peter and Jesus and God and Yahweh and Yahushua. But there truly is one person playing each one of those roles. Is that not true? So that's who I'm trying to find.
Yeshua said, the Jews, we should have realized who he was. He says, I am that way. I am the truth. I am the life. He claims to be the life, the Chaim, the Eitz Chaim in the Garden of Eden. And he says, I am the way. The way was guarded. The way was stopped. God would not allow it back in, Adam and Eve, nor their descendants. See, Now, Adam and Eve, they were filled with the Holy Spirit. The rock begot them. The rock breathed that life into them. That's what the prophecy's about right here. The rock.
Because that means that they could have been playing like an Adam, whoever was Adam, could have been playing Jesus until he got the breath of life breathed into him. Then he stepped back into his actual role and said, you know what? Let me just be me. Let me be who I am. That's all I want people to be, is who they actually are or aren't. But who am I to say anything?
Rock itself was breathing the life into. When you go back to Genesis, and I'm really excited, so bear with me here. I'm still sick, but I'm here.
Yeah, I'm sick too. Sick of trying to figure things out. But one day, if I don't die first, I'll know the truth.
The rock that begot you. And why does he say the rock that begot you? Because if Moses, when they smote the rock in the wilderness, the rock was split, the water came forth from it, showing it was the waters of life, from the tree of life. And that's why Christ was put on a tree. He was put on a cross. He was put on a tree. Why? Because he is that tree of life. Don't you see who he is? They hung him on a tree because he was the Eitz Chaim, and he had to be smitten. And when he was smitten by the Roman soldier and his side was tore open, you people out there that have been watching these Antichrist videos that condemn, you say, oh, Jewish guy out there trying to tell us who the Antichrist is. You're the one, the Jews, you killed him. Yes, we condemned him to death, but it was the Gentiles that actually did the dirty work.
Fired up. Steve gets fired up. So I can see where this script would be played out. Being the eighth Hayim, striking the rock, the Roman soldier, Jonathan Kleck, and then over here on my side, the water started to gush out.
It's he said that he would dread the enemy's provocation, lest their adversaries should misdeem, lest they should say, our hand is exalted and not the Lord hath wrought all this. Now, here's what's interesting. God identifies their adversary, the one that's been doing this to him. Now he's starting to tell us that their adversary. Hang on one second. I got it. And I'm trying to go quickly, brothers, sisters, on this. I really am. Obadiah hath wrought all this. Now, here's what's interesting. God identifies their adversary, the one that's been doing this to him. Now he's starting to tell us that their adversary. Hang on one second. I got it. And I'm trying to go quickly, brothers, sisters, on this. I really.
And then, so you have a perception of what I'm showing you. When I slow things down, when I pause it, when I show you that it speaks for itself. But is it the true interpretation? Because that's the second part of that app, that FU Pay Me app, is you can get. All right, so what are you implying? That's what you're implying. I just showed you what you're implying. But is that the truth? Because then there's the bonus points is that the truth? Like when I make up that app, when I get feedback from it, let's go to Overdue Champion. Here we go.
I mean, you just can't make this shit up, right? You can't make this stuff up, right? You can't.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't make this stuff up. I guess you can make this stuff up.
So here's the way it works with Steve. When I have a great idea, it's a demented idea, but it's a great idea, and Steve knows it because you're the one sending people in my direction that have done those tactics. So you know damn well that it's worth getting paid for because you're paying them. Remember, you're the leading head gang stalker in America. You write everybody's checks. Stephen James Deshawn. Satan. What's that? Satan is legion, and they are the jinn, for they are many. What is that? I don't. If you pay me a demented idea. Well, you got to get rid of the a demented idea, right? And then just put demented idea. See? And look at that. It's perfect. Because it fits in with all the rest of the stuff that you wrote about me, Steve. None of it's good. It's all lies. Every bit of it. Turd goblin. Look at that. Talk about plastering false information. But I take it as an honor because I know what's true and what ain't true. And man, bald-headed usurper of Adam, mark of the beast, teaches the hero camping deception. So there you go.
Oh my lord. F you pay me a demented idea.
Which means a great idea.
Let's get rid of the A. F you pay me. Demented idea. F you pay me. Oh, look at that.
Oh, wow. Look at that. You didn't purposely write it like that.
You just can't make this stuff up, you know? You just can't make this stuff up.
Mm-mm.
Zach, I'm like, Zach, isn't that weird? See, like Zach, Zach's the one that saw that.
Wait a minute. I also had a thought. What if this was really Stephen James Deshawn behind a mask, and that's Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then that's Zach, like Zachary, I don't know, maybe Zachary Hubbard, or Zach, the one that I talked to on the phone before, through you, Steve? Because there are 3 people that have 4 different masks, that they're playing 4 different people on this planet. So again, for the people that don't know, like the people that aren't from the inside, Stephen James Deshawn is an architect of Luciferianism and gang stalking terrorists. He needs to be thrown alive into the lake of fire. He already was. And he's living to tell the story. And it's funny that, I mean, I don't mind, but this is my video. So whoever, and I, Robin Henry Tees, exposed Stephen James Deshawn for being a false Jesus. Well, that's true. The top, here. This is why I'm always honored every time. Because I have the top Luciferian Freemason inside the United States by a man named Stephen James Deshawn. The top Luciferian, leading top gang stalking commander. Makes psychotic connections to things that are not connected. Like what he just showed you. And so if you look at Steve's channel, so you got me when I was, I think I was acting like a call for an uprising because he was coming against the satyrs and I was sticking up for the satyrs. And so there's another video there about me. There's another video there. So basically, my point is,
but you were always on my mind. You were always on my mind.
So I think Steve was playing the Cain role, and I was playing Abel, but I didn't really know it at the time. And then Cain killed Abel, even though I'm still alive. Killed, like, gang stalked, harassed, attacked. But he'll tell you he's the first Adam, the last Adam. Moses, Elijah, Jesus, King David, and and Gematria backs it up. So back here, I'm trying to figure out who's playing Esau, who's playing Jacob.
Haters, and said they should be killed, and if they don't convert, they should be forced to convert. Totally ignoring Paul's letters, totally ignoring them. And but
and Peter and
nonetheless,
Paul.
so we know that Israel's enemy has been Rome ever since then. And one other thing too, even in Obadiah identifies that it's Edom. Okay, Edom or Esau. Verse 6. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace
Before
with
I
thee
existed.
have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none to understanding in him. Oh, that's interesting. You know, that's what you're going to read here in Deuteronomy 32 as well. This is why you see all the wars going on, the Sunnis and Shiites killing one another. But anyway, so we identify Esau back here, though. But now you're going to find out who Esau is. Because remember, the Ark of Titus is in...
And then what's the other one?
Listen up. We are
Hello and welcome to another teaching from 119 Ministries. Our ministry believes that the whole Bible is true and directly related to our lives today. If you would like to know more about what we believe and teach, please
January
visit us
19th,
at
2022.
testeverything.net. If you enjoy this video, the story of Nimrod is a controversial topic. Most of what we assume to know about Nimrod is from extra-biblical accounts. For those that are interested in learning what the Bible alone teaches about Nimrod, this study might be of some interest. Genesis chapter 10. Cush fathered Nimrod. He was the first on earth to be a mighty man. He was a mighty hunter before Yahweh. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before Yahweh. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. From that land, he went into Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth Ir, Calah, and Resen.
I think Babylon truly is YouTube because it's confusion. It's a land of confusion. People know the truth and they twist it so much to keep you confused so you don't know. But then take a look at Nimrod in Gematria. And I'm Batman. Well, I'm Robin, so if you're Nimrod, you're Batman. I heard Steve say he was Batman before. Jonathan Clark wears that shift shirt a lot. The magician. So wasn't Simon the sorcerer? Wasn't he a magician? But here, King Herod. If Nimrod is King Herod, then Pontius Pilate would be his buddy. So that it's like the two, King Herod creating the YouTube platform, Pontius Pilate being the other one that's in charge of YouTube. And then you got your Barabbas, who would be your fake rock. That would be your Judas type figure. With the Luciferian host body system from Lucifer. In that, again, when I say this, there's always two different, because there's two cabals. So there's, I'm not picking one side to be the actual truth. I'm telling you that this side of we are Lucifer means you have this in your body, or you have the the outward. This is the host body where the female, the birthing system, push rod of iron. So I will rule with a rod of iron, but that's not really what it means. But that's what would be said, ruling with a rod of iron inside. So everything in the Bible is definitely twisted to fit this interpretation of Lucifer's, the one cabal of Lucifer played out, where Christ is in you, you're crucified, like that's considered your Christ because it's the spark of life, it's life, and you have the two thieves, one on each end, Decimus and Gestus. Or it could be Peter and Paul, and Christ is in the middle, because Peter and Paul Basilica's right here. And I'll give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, so then it'll show you a key here, the key of David, and the David's tomb, sunken down in the eye, the one eye landscape, one eye to the pit down there, because it's the bottomless pit, and then up to heaven, and then now you'll build your church on the rock. So they'll look at, okay, well then that rocky. So you mean you're going to give me the keys because I'm here? And I'm going, no, that's just the way it's set up to be with the antennas. You know, like the antennas. You know, women wear their hair down like antennas, and then you'll have that set up.
It's just beyond insane, the whole idea that a building says T-Rex on all the boards. And Zach, I'm like, Zach, and that weird, see, like.
Because so what if I come in and bust people's plans up, exposing what it is? Like, let's say somebody wanted to be worshipped as Jesus, and I came in and ruined it for him. So what? You still have the ability to go throughout this planet and do whatever you want to do, and you don't actually have to do any work, like physical labor, and you're good to go for the rest of your life. So it doesn't even matter. I just want the truth to come out, not on a donkey's coat this time. I want the real Jesus to come.
Nimrod is one of the most mysterious and infamous characters in the Bible. You've probably heard a plethora of tales about this figure. Most of them are wholeheartedly concocted out of thin air and have no basis in history. But the reason they exist is because we know so little about who this person really was. All we have to go on is this brief passage in Genesis 10, which is why conspiracy theorists have tried to fill in the details with wild theories that just lack evidence.
I'm going to try to give it a shot. I never really looked into Nimrod. I heard some things before, but what would set Nimrod apart? He's a mighty hunter before the Lord. Well, yeah, and then he was called evil, just like that, the evil prince to come, just like the Antichrist, and the perception of what the Antichrist is, evil, murderer, hater of Jesus, which isn't true, because it was him being in the place of.
Into the skies as a way of disposal. I am old enough to remember the 80s, how good things were before the Clintons got in, and we did have a few good years here under Trump. But the monsters are back. China, Joey, speaking of Joe Biden, are holding the world hostage because they have a company called IBM, who not confirmed yet, Miss Watson, JB, and Miss Phillips, Hillary Clinton. By the way, Miss Watson is Joe Biden, and Miss Phillips is Hillary Clinton.
So then does that equal Philip? Like Philip, Nathaniel in the Bible, Hillary, behind the mask, of course.
Basically, she did not win. Joey did not win. In other words, Hillary didn't win. Joe Biden didn't win, talking about the presidencies. And they got the goods on her. Problem is, Clinton keeps killing all the witnesses. The world leaders that are pushing back are assassinated. The world leaders that are pushing back are assassinated.
So when I hear Hillary Rod Clinton, and then I hear about Nimrod, then is she pushing for Nimrod's body to come back, or is she considered Nimrod's body because it ain't really her? Like when you see these people, I've learned it's not actually them. It's the spirit, the soul of the person that climbs in and out of that mask and goes into another one, gets up on stage, and it's a really famous person, and they come back off stage, and then they go and somewhere else, and then they become like Donald Trump, and then they take their mask off, and they'll go become Hillary Clinton, and then take their mask off, and then they'll go and they'll be the Pope, and then they'll go see people and take their mask off. But what do they really look like behind the mask? Is what I want to know.
9/11, Clinton and China were in court 2 blocks away from the Twin Towers for election fraud. The next day, 9/12, the case was dropped and another document placed on Bush's desk with the intent of the same group. We will call them ISIS.
So they were 2 blocks away from the Twin Towers. See these 2 Twin Towers? If you just go 1 block, it'll get you to the 8th Haim, Penn Center Building 8, and Jacob's Ladder's right there. In a landscape biblical manifestation.
What may go on at least another 10 years. Now, these are the world experts. So, assumingly, the Gates patent will be up in December of 22, and the Fauci one up in 10 years from now, give or take, if he is still even alive then. One can only imagine 2 creepy hands high-fiving with China, Joey King, King, 11, Xi, which that's who 11 is. 11 is called Xi Jinping, in other words.
Which means she is a ping. She is ping. Xi Ping.
Involved in that. Mind behind this. And the Iraq War. She was the mastermind behind this. That's something.
Who was that?
The Clintons and their power.
No.
I knew, as I've said to you guys before, maybe on Patreon, maybe not here on Israeli News Live, the Clintons, Hillary Clinton was coming to the White House all the way back during the time of the Bush administration, and she was instrumental in bringing the body of Nimrod in the Iraq War. She was the mastermind behind this. That's something a lot of people are not even aware of. So yes, they've been very much involved in that. And they're still in power. I know for a fact that Hillary Clinton still runs the White House. It's not Obama. It's not Biden. It's not Kamala Harris or any of the above. It is Hillary Clinton. Now,
Hillary Clinton. So, whoever Hillary Clinton is, Hillary Rod Clinton, Nimrod.
Prideful as ever, this character, who is thought to be Nimrod, responds that he is like God, because he too has the ability to give life and cause death. Some commentaries supply narratives here that Nimrod brings forth two men who are sentenced to death and proceeds to kill one before Abraham, while setting the other one free. In this, Nimrod demonstrates his power to Abraham and seeks to equate himself, using Abraham's example, as God himself, or at least on the same level as God. It would also be an effort by Nimrod to liken himself to God by showing his mastery over life and death. But Abraham is thought to have chastised Nimrod here, telling him that God brings up the sun from the east, and if Nimrod was as powerful, then he should be able to bring up the sun from the west. Obviously, not being able to do this, Nimrod exiles Abraham.
Canaan was the representative father of the Amorites, even though a specific Amorite king could have actually come from the line of Cush. At the end of the day, this brief passage about Nimrod seems to be about a king who began in Sumer and took over the region of Assyria. In my view, the most likely candidates are Sargon and Hammurabi. But these are only educated guesses, and there are other possibilities. But given the description of Nimrod includes known ancient cities, correlates to how ancient Near Eastern kings were depicted, and can correlate with events that historically...
Mighty man, also enormous. Like those that ride a horse, like horsemen. Horsemen, which are men that have the appearance of a horse, and they're horse men. Horsemen.
happened, it is probable the Hebrew authors are describing a real king that conquered the regions of Sumer and Assyria instead of a mythological figure.
Question is, though, is where did they get all this power that this is being mentioned in this individual's letter? That's my question. And I'll try to see if I can dig more to find out about that. But as we know, a long list of people do not make it when they go to rub against them.
And Barak's duet, Judges 4 and 5. The people of Israel were ignoring God's commands. Because Israel was worshiping idols, God had allowed the Canaanites to rule over them. A Canaanite general named Sisera terrorized Israel for 20 years.
What are those people going to do?
2011, 20 years. 2022, 21 years. 20 full years.
Hang on one sec, guys. Let's see. Let's do this.
Neither is there any understanding in them. And I've told you before, I don't know if he's referring this directly to Israel, but it seems more like he's referring this to the enemy that Israel is dealing with. They're void of counsel. They supposedly believe that Yeshua is their counselor, but they have no counselor. They do not believe in him. He just identifies it now, and he says it's Esau. So the Roman Catholic Church are the Edomites of today. I'm not talking about, there's a lot of good people that are Catholic that are tied up into that system. The Bible clearly says, come out of her, my people.
See, back then, I feel like when Steve's talking, he's talking to the people that already know what the deal is. Today, the others that I've been following, because they know I caught on to their language, I feel like they're talking in a way of trying to imply certain things about themselves and direct me away from the actual truth. Back then, watching videos back then, I didn't exist. So there was really nobody was, I'm sure, was pointing out what they're really saying. And so you can just kind of just go off and explain your situation just to let people know what's going on, and they already know basically who you are.
For they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them. Let me go back to verse 27. Were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy, lest their adversaries should behave themselves strangely, and lest they should say, Our hand is high, and the Lord hath not done all this. For they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them.